I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore, and diverting myself in now and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets, could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. This being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as Lord over all, and on account of his dominion he is wont to be called Lord God Pi Alpha Nu Tau Omicron Kappa Rho Alpha Tau Omega Rho, or universal ruler. Trials are medicines which our gracious and wise physician prescribes because we need them, and he proportions the frequency and weight of them to what the case requires. Let us trust his skill and thank him for his prescription. God without dominion, providence, and final causes, is nothing else but fate and nature. Blind metaphysical necessity, which is certainly the same always and everywhere, could produce no variety of things. All that diversity of natural things which we find suited to different times and places could arise from nothing but the ideas and will of a being necessarily existing. To explain all nature is too difficult a task for any one man or even for any one age. 'Tis much better to do a little with certainty and leave the rest for others that come after than to explain all things by conjecture without making sure of anything. How came the bodies of animals to be contrived with so much art, and for what ends were their several parts? Was the eye contrived without skill in optics, and the ear without knowledge of sounds, and these things being rightly dispatched, does it not appear from phenomena that there is a being incorporeal, living, intelligent? What Descartes did was a good step. You have added much several ways, and especially in taking the colors of thin plates into philosophical consideration. If I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. God, who gave animals self-motion beyond our understanding, is without doubt able to implant other principles of motion in bodies which we may understand as little. Some would readily grant this may be a spiritual one, yet a mechanical one might be shown. Did not I think it better to pass it by? A vulgar mechanic can practice what he has been taught or seen done, but if he is in an error he knows not how to find it out and correct it, and if you put him out of his road he is at a stand, whereas he that is able to reason nimbly and judiciously about figure, force, and motion, is never at rest till he gets over every rub. Resistance is usually ascribed to bodies at rest, and impulse to those in motion, but motion and rest, as commonly conceived, are only relatively distinguished, nor are those bodies always truly at rest, which commonly are taken to be so. Kepler's laws, although not rigidly true, are sufficiently near to the truth to have led to the discovery of the law of attraction of the bodies of the solar system. The deviation from complete accuracy is due to the facts, that the planets are not of inappreciable mass, that, in consequence, they disturb each other's orbits about the Sun, and, by their action on the Sun itself, cause the periodic time of each to be shorter than if the Sun were a fixed body, in the subduplicate ratio of the mass of the Sun to the sum of the masses of the Sun and planet. These errors are appreciable although very small, since the mass of the largest of the planets, Jupiter, is less than 1/1000th of the Sun's mass. Truth is ever to be found in simplicity and not in the multiplicity and confusion of things. Sir Isaac Newton: imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Albert Einstein. The other part of the true religion is our duty to man. We must love our neighbor as ourselves. We must be charitable to all men, for charity is the greatest of graces, greater than even faith or hope, and covers a multitude of sins. We must be righteous and do to all men as we would they should do to us. As in mathematics, so in natural philosophy, the investigation of difficult things by the method of analysis, ought ever to precede the method of composition. This analysis consists in making experiments and observations, and in drawing general conclusions from them by induction, and admitting of no objections against the conclusions, but such as are taken from experiments, or other certain truths. For hypotheses are not to be regarded in experimental philosophy. If I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. From a letter to Robert Hooke dated February 5, 1676. The metaphor was first recorded in 1159 by John of Salisbury and attributed to Bernard of Chartres, Dispat Bernardus Carnotensis nosse quasi nanis, gigantium humerus incidens, ut possimus plura eiset remotiora vidir, non unici proprii visus acumen, aut eminentia corporis, sedcia in altum subvenimur et extolimur magnitudine gigantea. We are not to consider the world as the body of God, or the several parts thereof as the parts of God. He is a uniform being, void of organs, members, or parts, being everywhere present to the things themselves. And since space is divisible in infinitum, and matter is not necessarily in all places, it may also be allowed that God is able to create particles of matter of several sizes and figures, and in several proportions of space, and perhaps of different densities and forces, and thereby to vary the laws of nature, and make worlds of several sorts in several parts of the universe. At least I see nothing of contradiction in this. In experimental philosophy we are to look upon propositions inferred by general induction from phenomena as accurately or very nearly true, notwithstanding any contrary hypotheses that may be imagined, till such time as other phenomena occur, by which they may either be made more accurate, or liable to exceptions. This rule we must follow, that the argument of induction may not be evaded by hypotheses. Covet earnestly the best gifts of the Spirit, and yet I shew unto you a more excellent way, viz. that ye love one another. For though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and have not charity love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and have no charity love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity love, it profiteth me nothing. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and every one that loveth is born of God, and knoweth God, and he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. In this was manifested the love of God towards us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. Beloved, if God so loved us, we ought to love one another. No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us. If a man say, I love God, and hate his brother, he is a liar, for he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen? And this commandment have we, that he who loveth God love his brother also.